Gonna do blooper reels.
We did a blooper reel
all
this year.
about that. The whole year's been a blooper reel.
I think so. That's about right.
Yeah. What's up, Brandon and Harrell? Welcome back to the local podcast as we just ramble about nothing. Today's going to be a lot of fun, actually. We usually do just audio stuff and yada, yada, yada. But today we're working on a project that is more collaborative than usual, which sounds like we are not into collaborating with anybody, but obviously we are. So welcome to the local studio.
Yeah, what's up, man? Good to be back.
Partying. We got this thing in the room that I'm going to point at because, why not? It's not in here normally.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense for the audio portion of this podcast. But
we need to pick up these two cameras right here and just like do our own, like
film the camera filming us.
Yeah, it'll be like the real world where we do the confessional thing, but we're just hold it like Blair Witch style. I think we're onto something.
I think so. I think that's going to make the blooper reel as well.
Right. So some quick background on you. Everybody that's watching this probably already has an idea of what you do for a living and who you are and what your interests are, since it's in your website. I say that like that's your only interest, is getting places on foot swiftly. About saving this fuel, getting these calves up.
Yeah.
So we're here today to talk about the normal things for our podcast, which is what to get into, like where to go, quality of life, self-fulfillment, enrichment, smiles, whatever makes smiles in the area. So, dude, welcome to it.
Yeah, well, it's good to be back. Always have a good time, and it's always a good hang, good time to catch up.
Yeah, dude.
But definitely to talk about, as somebody who's not originally from Dothan, this was kind of like my introduction to what to get into and what to stay away from. So
I appreciate
it's
that.
always good to get back.
I like to be. So when I was growing up, I never had anybody tell me like that sucks, or that's really cool, or that's going to get you in trouble, or this is a road you probably don't want to go down. And so I just roamed like a free animal.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I learned what I know about, or what I think I know about the city. Because that's knowledge is always a moving target in my brain anyway. But yeah, like year in, year out, we have new stuff show up, or we have a new set of situations that we get to contend with when we're trying to plan quality of life events, or like what we want to do. And this year, because of COVID, nobody can see anybody face to face anymore unless they're 6 feet apart.
Yeah. We did a series, you and I did some co-branded stuff talking about the things to do and all. And I think this was a good time to kind of follow up with that so that we could talk about that from a whole different perspective, because when we did those different videos, we had no idea what was coming. I don't think anybody could have. The memes that say, those of you who said in 5 years I'll be, let's just go ahead and say nobody guessed it.
Yeah,
is so is so correct, because none of us projected this.
No,
but I think it's good to get back in because there's still a lot to do. It's just about knowing what to do and how to do and all that. So.
Yeah, I feel like the first wave of shutdown kind of got us kind of shaken up, kind of shook up some of the sediment and dust in our heads, because we've been in such a weird routine that eventually you stop appreciating some of the normal day-to-day stuff.
Sure.
And then when that goes away, or perceivedly goes away, you don't know what to do except soak up some Netflix or Hulu or whatever. And now that everything's kind of opened up to an extent, there's still like a ton of things you can go get into. It just might not be in the normal crowd situation that you might be accustomed to.
Yeah, I think our perspectives changed too. That, at the front end of this, when everybody was really trying to stay at home a lot, where it was either mandatory quarantine or whatever you want to call it, it really made you change, because there's only so much. Yeah, we did have Joe Exotic to get us through the first couple of weeks. But there was only so much TV that you wanted to watch, and there was only so much time that you could spend in the same room with your kids or your spouse or whatever before it's like, all right, I need a break.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because, you alluded to me being, I'm the running realtor is my gimmick. When I'd go out to like Westgate to run or Forever Wild to run, it's like, where did all these people come from? Because I run these trails all the time, and there's 30-40% more people out here than I normally would see. Mm-hmm. It's like we were looking for an outlet, looking for something to do.
Yeah. And I think with the quarantine or the city kind of folded up for a little bit, people were looking for what to get into. And seasonally, the weather was starting to change and starting to get a lot more, tolerable outside. It doesn't really get freezing cold here, although this week is kind of, just out of the norm. But when you usually see about good 20 to 30% of the population spike at Westgate during the spring months. And then you pair that with not having anything else to do besides watch Joe Exotic again, then, which I did, like I absolutely rolled through that thing twice. I'm ready for a trivia game about that weirdo. But yeah, like people get restless and they want to know what to get into. They want to be able to know like what they can take their kids to be a part of. And like, a lot of people just have constantly have questions, whether they're visitors, whether they're moving to the area, where they've lived here forever and just haven't had the time to seek it out. We always have random questions show up as to what's popping, where the best nightclubs are, best food, what to get into outside and stuff like that.
Well, one of the things I think that makes Dothan so great when that question gets asked is because we have such an entrepreneurial spirit in this town where we have a lot of stuff that's one-off restaurants and shops and stuff. Whereas, you see that in other places, but it's kind of like if you don't know about those places, the hole in the wall burger joint or whatever, like you're not going to venture in there. You're going to stay safe for the most part or go where you're hearing about stuff.
For sure.
So I think it's cool that what you do and hopefully through like this series too, what we're going to do is to try to shed some light on that for people, especially in this like current and maybe even post-COVID world that we're living in, because there's still a lot to do, and there's a lot that you can do safely, no matter no matter how you feel about what's going on. If you're the person that wears your mask in the car by yourself,
go nuts.
There's stuff that we can do. Or if you're the person who is pissed off and never wants to wear a mask, there's still stuff you can do too. Mm-hmm. And so, we want to try to capture all of that for everybody.
Yeah, it's I said this last time, but where we're geographically located allows for our population and our visitors to get into all sorts of different stuff, whether it's mountain biking or kayaking or skateboarding or BMX stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I'm just focused on bikes today. Just hyped on two wheels. Dude, there's so much stuff to get into. I don't know if you've seen the little training facility they got at Westgate that they put up in the last year.
Oh, yeah.
Over by Waterworld. Mm-hmm. Like, there's so many ways to get out and get active, and at the end of the day, kind of better yourself. Nobody's gonna be mad if they're a little more agile, or if they have their balance is a little bit better, or maybe, I don't know, at the end of the day, like, you just feel better getting out and moving around. And who wants to sit in a dusty old house all day?
And it's an outlet. It's something to do to break up the monotony and to not be sitting in front of a television. Because let's just be real, like television this year, other than Joe Exotic, was pretty much a downer, where we had all of the talk about COVID. We had all the political stuff. It didn't matter what you believed or where you were. It was pretty much a divisive issue for everybody. Yeah. So it's good to get outside and do some stuff, because we were ordering a lot more takeout. We were eating probably a lot less healthy than maybe we should have been during this time, because, everybody was kind of in this mode of just whatever.
Yeah. Well, you can't eat Hot's Deli every day. That's closed on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. So, trying to find something that is a healthy outlet, I think is important, because if nothing else, for your mental health, just to get outside, get some sunshine, get some fresh air, and get in something that you can have kind of like just some time alone, or even if you're taking the kids for a walk or something.
I've always had a theory, and it's kind of been proven to me so far. The more uncomfortable you can make yourself, the more tolerant and the more you can relate to other people.
Sure.
I always say that my comfort zone is, I don't know where the boundaries are, because like I've been in such weird situations and like gotten myself into so much harebrained antics over the years that like I don't know where the limit is as far as me being comfortable. So like for me, just being able to go out and explore the city on my own and just like see like places like Cookie's Corner downtown. That's like a home, like an old school Southern cooking joint. That is one of my favorite places to eat in the city. To like the normal touristy attraction type food places like KBC downtown, or like the Cellar is a good example. The Rawls over in Enterprise is a good one to travel to.
Yeah, we tried that a couple weeks ago for the first time.
Yeah, how was it?
Oh, it was excellent, and the atmosphere was cool because it's very different. You don't just have a place like that everywhere.
No, they say that place is haunted. Actually,
I could totally see it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's I will just say this: I don't know who kept pouring my drinks, but I had a lot of drinks that night.
That's a good bartender, man. You don't even.
The glass kept getting filled up. I don't know what was up with that. So maybe that was a ghost. I don't know, but
spooky scotches.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, it was good. It was great food, great service, and I think that that's kind of epitomizes what we see universally around here. That it's not just one spot. It's not just this segment. It's pretty much across the board. Because these business owners, they are local to the area. Many of them grew up in this area.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they're staking their reputation and they want this business to succeed and to provide good service because they want their brand, quote unquote, to be recognizable.
Yeah. We, Dothan touts itself of not having much to look at. Like there's no mountains, there's no immediate rivers. Like there's one 20 minutes out, but like there's nothing running through downtown. And we've got murals and we've got some of the best human beings I've ever met.
Absolutely.
And I think when you focus on that experience, the personal interaction, especially with food, retail, events and stuff, people get to know you. They recognize themselves in somebody else, and that's how you start gaining support and traction, and really get kind of a movement going, which is what the local's always been about.
It's interesting working in real estate. I come across people at different stages of life where it's, a first-time home buyer, or it's somebody who's moved out of the area and moving back, or somebody who's getting relocated here for jobs, or even a lot of people that are retiring and moving to the area.
Yeah.
Alabama has pretty good taxes and stuff that will help.
We're an hour and a half from the beach.
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing that what you just said comes up in conversation all the time, whether they've ever lived here or not. If they've never lived here, they're just really shocked and surprised by the people in this area. And then if they have lived here, they came back because they fell in love with the people, they've missed the people and wanted to come back to that. That is such a great point for our region that we really need to focus more on and capitalize on, because it's what drives businesses here. It's what keeps businesses here, and it's what brings the people.
Yep. Without our population, like obviously Dothan wouldn't be a city because you're not just going to put buildings out there for no reason. But it's one of the things that like the ideas and the passion that come out of our population are like unstoppable. Like we've got, there's a group right now working towards bringing a skateboarding facility here. We have I keep going back to BMX, like because we can't.
Are you working on an X Games sponsorship or something?
Yeah, dude, hit me up. Olympics 2021. I'll come commentate. Now I just sidetracked into like me picturing myself like on a podium, like, and then next on the downhill, whatever the thing is.
You do fashion yourself as the Wiregrass Joe Rogan, so that would work.
I got too much hair for that. But yeah, like the BMX population here has done so well because, and especially now because it's an individual sport. The South has traditionally been a huge advocate for team sports, which I think all sports, all energetic outlets definitely have a place. But kind of the individual sports have been left by the wayside. And with COVID jumping on us the way it did, it forced a lot of people to kind of look towards some more solitary type activities. So BMX was one of them that a lot of people flock to. Skateboarding across the nation has been ridiculous. Like now there's a shortage of skateboards, and which is kind of crazy to think about. Like 10 years ago, it was not looked at the same as it is now. And yeah, like there's the individual population of each different sect of activity do so much for that sport. Frisbee golf is huge. Taylor just put up a Frisbee golf course. We got one over at Eastgate Park. And really, you can pop up those things in a neighborhood if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many activities you can get into that don't involve a group. And while there is safety in numbers, like, how much do you know about yourself if you've always done everything in a group?
Well, I mean, even with, the running stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just through this, talking to a lot of being part of one of the run groups here in town, that's one of the things that we talked about that for some people, it really got them through that was having that thing to do to say, okay, we can't do what we normally did in this area, this area, and this area, and this area, but I can still go out and I can still run, or I can still go out and I can ride my bike, or I can go out and I can do these things. So it was that feeling of normalcy in a world that was very
secluded, kind of.
Yeah, very weird.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we're always striving for is to find that thing. But our weather here makes all that stuff so great year round too.
Absolutely.
So I mean, other than some rain and extreme heat, we pretty much have good weather that even in the fall of the year, you can still be doing tournaments or, I mean, they just had the big BMX thing, like a month and a half ago.
They do regional and national races here.
Dude, and it's crazy. I used to live right over there by it, and you'd hear the commentator and stuff on it, and you'd go over to Westgate, and it's just like that whole side of the parking lot is
flooded with people.
Jam-packed.
Yep.
So we're not talking about, it's something that's pretty niche that, 25 people show up for. We're talking about hundreds of people, and that's got to be great for the city for revenue. And I know that you had people on from the city, and that was one of the topics that y'all talked about was just some of the income that was lost. But, it's great that the city focuses on that because we're playing to our strengths.
For sure.
And I think that's good that they recognize it. They kind of see where, what butters their bread and realizes, hey, we've got a great opportunity here. I've got family that only time I ever see them is when they have their kids have some type of tournament here in town. They're like, hey, let's grab dinner or something, which is cool.
For sure. Typically, our tourism it fluctuates. Like there's a lot of business tourism that goes on. And there's a lot of like baseball tournaments, softball tournaments and stuff like that here. We've got some of the most incredible baseball complexes for travel ball and for various tournaments. And they've done a heck of a job building out that infrastructure. When COVID hit though, everybody had to shift focus. You couldn't have 9 dudes on the same field sharing a ball because you didn't know if that ball was going to get you a cough.
Right. They set up Zoom calls and they had in their positions, with the television monitor and, it just is not as exciting that way.
No, man, because you can tell that somebody in the room is throwing the ball at you if there's a hit. I would like to see how that would play out. Like, I guess you can do virtual chess, but you couldn't really do virtual baseball without like a PlayStation involved.
I did, however, see an advertisement because, this is the time of year that you're going to see advertisements for everything that was a virtual baseball simulator that looked pretty dope. It was like you look like they showed what you would see through the because I think they used the Oculus system. Yeah. And it looked like you were in a major league stadium.
Those things scare me to death. I feel like if I had one of those things, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna, I don't know, get a indoor driving range. All right. Okay. I would just smash everything in my office because I'd have these goggles on and not see anything. Like I'd swing straight through this window if I couldn't see past, I don't know, 3 inches off my forehead.
You have to put a tether on so that you kind of stay in this certain little area that you're supposed to be in.
Man, really? I don't want that. How big can you make it? Like, can you? We don't need to discuss the technical aspects of how Oculus works. We're over here talking about what to get into. We're trying to get people out of that weird digital goggle world and
we just proved the point of why you need to get outside and do stuff instead of staying inside.
Yeah, because if you wear Oculus, you're just going to break all the windows until inside becomes outside.
And then you're going to have to go outside and go to the hospital, and nobody wants to be at a hospital right now.
No. If they even let you in. Like,
that's true.
You gotta be like seriously in some bad ways for them to even let you in the hospital.
Actually, they may get there and say, "Oh, how'd you get hurt?" "Oh, well, that's just natural selection. Sorry, we can't help you."
That's on you. Your card just got pulled. Yeah, dude. Like, what are some of your favorite things to get into that are?
I mean, right now, I still love folklore is one of the funnest things that
yeah.
we can do because it's outside. So, if you're uncomfortable eating indoors, and I know some people still are. And so if you want to go eat outside, folklore is great because you've got good food, you've got obviously good beverages, you've got good entertainment. And listen, even if you're not a big beer drinker, it's a cool atmosphere. It's fun to go out there and hang out.
Yeah.
Right now, I know they've got fire pits going. You can play cornhole. They sometimes they have live music going.
You can bring your pets.
Yeah, you can bring your pets. Yeah, you can bring your kids, but I'm looking for ways to get away from my kids.
Yeah.
And so we love that. That's one of our favorite go-to spots, which it was coincidentally one of the first places we ever went in Dothan. That was kind of like traditional Dothan or something exclusive to Dothan. Our go-to spot, we ate there last night. Once a week, generally, we have another friends of ours, like we meet them and we go to Taj. And a lot of times it's on Tuesdays and we call it Taj Tuesday or Taj Thursday. Either way, we try to mix it up. But shout out to Angela because she is the best. Yeah. But like those are things we love to do. And it's cool just because those are specific to Dothan. We're not hitting up the chain stuff.
Yeah.
We're not hitting up stuff that's, it's kind of like every town has them. They're kind of unique for us.
For sure.
And I know that whole local brewery thing is really picked up steam everywhere.
It's kicked off all over the place.
But I don't know, something about the vibe of folklore that we've watched it in the 3 years we've lived in Dothan, how much it's grown.
Yeah.
That's cool. But it still feels hometown.
Yeah.
So
one of the cool things about folklore is you don't have to go to folklore to get it. Like they sell that beer all over the city. They have mad different flavors, like between the Shadowcaster, the Grateful Red, which is my favorite. They've got the Front Porch. That's delicious. Their Oktoberfest is off the hook. Golden Eagle is a Kolsch that they just released. That's super good.
See, I love their seasonal stuff. They run, everybody talks about how Sam Adams does seasonal stuff as a big national brewery.
Yeah.
But Folklore, man, they rock some great. I've got a growler right now of 13 Ghost from Halloween.
Woo, yeah.
That is, it is.
I like that was
great.
named after a book that I have sitting on this table right now.
It was a great plug. We totally planned that out.
Yeah, Catherine Tucker Wyndham. Holla at me from the other side. She died a few years ago and it kind of bummed me out. But if you haven't read 13 Alabama Ghosts and Jeffrey by Catherine Tucker Wyndham, get at that. That's one of those, like, when you grow up in Alabama and like around around Halloween, if you're in elementary school, it's almost required that you read it. She was, I believe, from Montgomery or Birmingham. She writes all these crazy stories, and she had this friendly ghost that kicked it with her named Jeffrey. And yeah, that is a solid read for sure.
And that's where Casper came from. It's not really where Casper came from. I totally made that up.
No, man, Casper is a movie, I think it's a Disney film with Christina Ricci in it. I think.
I'm pretty sure Casper was around before Christina Ricci was alive.
I guarantee it was.
I'm pretty sure that was like an old thing. But anyway. So what about you? I mean, what's one of your go-to spots?
Dude, Taj is definitely on that list. Anywhere that has just solid food, like we've got some pretty remarkable food trucks. Dude, new hot dog joint downtown, Say It Hot Dogs. Dude, they have some of the best hot dogs on the planet.
I've got to try them because where they're at, it's one of those I'm not usually in that part of town.
Yeah,
for
like
lunch.
I have to travel to.
Like
there.
I have to make a point, and I see every time I see it, I'm always bummed. Like, gosh, I keep forgetting about trying that. So that's
so good.
That's a definite gonna try. So what else? I mean, I obviously I know, and it's not just that you're contractually obligated to say Hots Deli, but Hots Deli's got to be.
Hots Deli. I only eat Hots Deli. Exclusively. They've got food right. They got rights on my belly for the next 37 months.
You're actually filming a documentary like the guy did that he only ate McDonald's.
Yeah.
You're doing Hots Deli.
Super size me. So super hots me. Yeah, I'd watch that. I watch some silly stuff though. Firestone Pizza's solid.
Yes.
The atmosphere is great. Obviously KBC, there's really nowhere else you can go within driving distance where you can eat at a Top Chef Winners restaurant, which is remarkable. Like we have people come up from Destin, like people passing through from Atlanta will stop. Like it's one of the big staples for downtown. And another one, Mural City Coffee.
I was just gonna say that whole like downtown area is banging, man. It's just got just good place after good place after good place.
For sure.
Yeah.
Gina and Darren have done a phenomenal job renovating the building.
Totally.
For Mural City. And I think we talked about it on the last episode of the local podcast. Cody was mentioning how when you go to Mural City, you don't feel like it's a coffee shop in Dothan. Where there are some coffee shops that do very much feel like a Dothan coffee shop, which I think we need. So if everything's awesome, nothing's awesome, right?
Right.
So you do have to have some of those middle of the road places. And even though like Mr. Coffee Bean on Westgate's super delicious, Dakota Coffee's solid. We've got one of those here and in Enterprise that are super delicious and locally owned. Bird and the Bean downtown is also a great coffee shop that's locally owned. And then, you got your normal Starbucks for everybody that's nervous about caffeine. But I've always wondered how people travel and just go like plan dinner and they're like, we're going to Burger King. You know what I mean? Like you got to have some of that local flavor to really experience an area. And while I did grow up as a peanut butter and jelly lover, like strict peanut butter and jelly diet, now that I'm older, I'm like, what's up with some spice? Let's get some unique flavors to whatever area I'm in.
Yeah.
And you find some of the best places when I travel. My wife and I rarely have a plan. We just wander the city aimlessly and just go in whatever doors are open and see what's what.
I used to be one of those. I traveled a lot for work, and I was always kind of stick to the known stuff.
Yeah.
And now if I had to take some clients out or entertain them, then I would try to maybe check with the concierge at the hotel, like, hey, I'm entertaining some big clients. What do you recommend? And but for the most part, when it was just me solo, I was sticking to the safe stuff.
Yeah, let's go to O'Charlie's.
It was try to pick things that I didn't have in my hometown.
For sure.
But it's like, oh, well, I know that chain. I know that brand. But it was funny because I was in El Paso and a lot of the people were talking about, I was like, I'd been there a couple of days and I was like, I just really want a good burger. And, sometimes you just crave like a good burger.
El Paso is not necessarily known for their American cuisine.
Absolutely not. And everybody was like, oh, you need to go try out this place. And I'm going to give them a shout out. I guess they're still open, Hot and Juicy, which sounded like the name of a strip club to me. But
sign me up.
But I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try this place out. And they're like, but you got to go early because they close at like 7:00.
Yeah.
And I get there and I'm thinking this hole in the wall, nothing special. It is no atmosphere. I mean, it is nothing at all that you would think this is a great burger. Walk inside and the guy that owned the place was actually waiting at the counter. Nice guy, would place their order. He's trying to chat us up while we're waiting on our food and everything. Legit, one of the best burgers I have ever had in my entire life. And so it's not just trying new things that you're going to get good food, but you're going to meet some great people along the way too. I think that was like the turning point for me where it's like you said, I want to try some local stuff and find out where to go. I mean, and obviously maybe you want to do your homework and not just show up, but I mean, places like here, like Dixie Curb Market, son, like,
have you had that fried peanut butter and jelly? I go, back to the peanut butter and jelly diet, but they've got a fried peanut butter and jelly it will change your life.
No, I haven't. But what I did get there was chicken and waffles, which is wasn't even on the menu, but they had chicken fingers and they had waffles. And he's like, yeah, I can make chicken and waffles. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do that for breakfast here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that. If you didn't know about places like that, how would you even think to stop?
There's no sign. There's no like advertising. They don't have a marketing budget. They're just doing it.
They're just slinging,
and they've been doing it for ages. Some of my favorite places are places like that. Like in Montgomery, there's a place called Hamburger King. They open from like 10 to 3, and you can get chips, a hamburger, maybe some hot dogs if you want, and like canned Cokes. That's it. They're open 4 or 5 hours a day. You get in there. It's like a block house, kind of vibe.
Probably some dude out back cooking on a grill. Like it's
No, it's all flat top. It's
nice.
It's solid. It's just
that flat top's probably got like 40 years of goodness baked into it.
Yeah, dude.
Oh man.
I mean, that's the same thing with Dixie Curb Market. Like that place has been around and been a staple for so long for that neighborhood that, like the flavors that develop after having that relationship with your clientele, like you see what sells, what doesn't, what people order. Maybe they say hold the blank. Like if you don't like slaw or you don't like this or that, you can really, if you build those relationships with your clientele, you can really streamline your development of new products that you're going to sell too. And I feel like most business owners in Dothan take the time to invest in their clientele because they're the people that we're referring to when we say our people are our biggest asset for Dothan.
Oh, 100%. And I think that, I don't know, like going back to being somebody who works in real estate, so much of my business is relationship based.
Absolutely.
And you have to have that trust with people. And so when you establish that, I think there's a connection there that's made. So not only do you want to, kind of like the hashtag shop local,
sure, you
really want to help that person out because there's a face behind that name. And and when these business owners, they're out there in the public and they're talking to people and, even like Kelsey right now, she's one top chef, but you'll still see her at the restaurant. Absolutely. She's still walking around and stuff, and she's still seeing what's going on. And, every business, for the most part, that is local is like that.
Yeah.
It makes it, I don't know, it's more personal connection that you don't get. You don't see Ronald McDonald walking around at McDonald's on the corner, of whatever street. That could be kind of weird if you did, because people are kind of weird about clowns. So
I think that dude, I have to assume that he's probably, I don't know, in the top 70 to 85% of best balloon artists ever, but I think he's hiding it. You know what I mean? Like I think he's got
low-key good.
I think he's got talents that we don't know about, and I think one of them is balloon animal making. He's a clown, dude. Like what? I don't know any other clown that sells fast food. I mean, I know plenty of clowns for sure, but like, none of them that are actually in the fast food business in any real capacity. So this dude's got to have hobbies.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just kind of, there's just something a little fishy. I mean, look who he hangs out with. Look at his crew.
He invests in St. Jude though.
Well, yeah, but one of his homies is the Hamburglar.
I got shady homies too. Everybody got to have some shade in their yard. You know what I mean? That's the way to do it. But yeah, like our city is not sustained by fast food or like, even there are some quick joints that are locally owned for sure. Obviously it's not going to be places like KBC because they have so much time and care. And I'm not saying that the fast places don't put in that same time and care, but they just have a lot more prep work going into it.
Oh yeah.
Because everything's done on the front end and then divvied up. One of my favorite places like that is Sticks and Cones downtown.
Dude, I was thinking that when we were talking about the downtown stuff, man.
Yeah.
And again, right back to what we said, an owner who is massively involved in their business,
dedicated to their
man,
area.
And he's dedicated to the town too. Like Brett is like just a solid guy where he cares about Dothan and he cares about the community and he cares about the people.
Yeah,
and it comes through in his business.
Yep, he's selling experience.
Yes,
and that's exactly like, I think nowadays that's the business model that a lot of people focus towards. Because anybody can serve you a burger. Anybody can whatever, but you always remember songs, smells, what was going on in that room, when important events happen, like engagements or birthday parties or whatever. Like I can remember where I was, what was going on, and it's all based on that experience. And if you don't have that atmosphere, if you don't have that vibe going on, that experience isn't going to stick.
Right.
It's not going to make as much of an impact. But when you have people like Brett, that's like always concerned with, are you getting the best treatment possible? That's how you keep and sustain a great local business. Absolutely.
No, they're a great example of it. And I love that Dothan has so many. You could throw 100 examples of that out. And I think that's one of the things that makes this area so great with food. But it's not just the food stuff.
No.
Like it's like the shopping too. I mean, Dothan has got just killer local shops. And I know that the town I came from was very similar in size to Dothan. And there were a few that I patronized, but it was just kind of like sticking to the box store, sticking to the places you know, because you know value, you know what you're going to get. But coming here, really, especially even like during COVID stuff, really trying to be more cognizant of, I want to participate with local businesses because they were the ones most affected. But realizing, okay, I'm not sacrificing on quality or price, or certainly not on service, to shop with these people. If anything, I'm getting equal or better.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I know who owns KBC. I know who owns KT's. I know who owns Mural City. And everybody that goes into those places, they learn that too.
Sure.
What you don't meet at Olive Garden is any proprietor of Olive Garden.
Yeah. Mr. Olive or Mr. Garden.
No, I don't. Yeah. Is that conglomeration? How does that work? Olive Garden dudes, holler at me. I'll give away some gift cards. But it's the same thing. Like if we're shoveling money out of the city, it takes longer for our construction get wrapped up because we don't have any money to pay the construction workers. And now it just looks like a bomb zone on my street out here.
I may or may not have clipped one of those cones coming in.
Shout out to the construction company doing everything wrong outside. Like they cut the power off in here for about 4 days once. Like it's been these wheels of progress. They'll run over a lot. You know what I mean? They don't care. But yeah, like you know the people that own your favorite places in town, especially that are locally owned, and a lot of reason that you go there is both that it's high quality product, whether it's food, clothing, glasses, whatever. Like Denny Vision's crushing it. But you go in there because it's a great experience, and inanimate objects do not create the experience.
No, and I think with the fact that their name is associated with it, their face is on there. You know, like it's. Even if their name, quote unquote, is not,
you can't hide
in the company name, that's still their brand, their reputation.
Yeah.
And so when I, as somebody who was part of a second generation family owned business, our name was physically on the package that went to consumers, and it was in grocery stores, and and so it was important to us for our quality to be a certain level.
Absolutely.
And for our service to be there because it was really our family name. And I think that that's one thing you get with local stores that you don't get with the national chains, is because for a lot of people, and not everybody, you do have those people that care about their job and care about great service. I don't mean to just completely, piss on the chain stores, but like if it's the person who physically owns the store checking you out at like the cash register. Not like in a creepy way checking you out. But,
what's up?
But
is this going to be all for you today?
But like if they're the person doing that, obviously they have a much higher investment into that being a satisfactory transaction.
For sure.
I love you work with like Bob and the fact that his name, even though
it's on the building,
it's on every van, it's on, it's on everything. And it's not just him, he's got family in the business, but at the same time, that's something that it goes across avenues there that people, I think, a lot of times forget about that.
Yeah.
I love Eagle Eye. I can't, necessarily, I'm not balling enough to afford to shop exclusively there.
Yeah.
But I love Eagle Eye when they shout out for those big sales when they do them. But I'm on their mail list. And the people that own that store, they're front and center on that stuff. But they also feature, they do, and but they also feature their employees too. So they almost take ownership and take a stake in the company. And there's a lot of just cool local boutiques and stuff that really do the same thing, that the owners are front and center. But then they also push their people front and center so that they can like share the vision, I guess.
Absolutely. Not only that, the more comfortable you are with somebody and their staff, the more comfortable you are cracking open that wallet. And the more motivated you are to make sure that they're going to be there the next time you want to go there.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen we've been doing the local for 10 years, give or take. It'll be 10 years in July since the first local that Bar Media has printed. And in that 10-year span, like you see places come and go. Like I've seen newspapers like my own come and go. But the thing that sustains us is we don't go out looking for every dollar. We go out and we make sure that we partner with the right brands that have the same vision as us, as far as like equality for all. As don't be smacking my equipment around, man. No, I'm just kidding. You can beat that thing up if you want. But everybody's focused on those people, and they want everybody to have the best experience possible, and they want everybody to come back. They want everybody to be comfortable. And they want, at the end of the day, everybody involved in that transaction to go home fulfilled. Fulfillment, I think, goes by the wayside a lot because everybody gets caught in that rut of like, well, I've got to do this, and this, and I got to go pick up the kids from soccer practice, and I got to take them to karate, then I got to take one to ballet, and then, I mean, you've got a dozen kids. You know how it is. Like you don't have, I mean, it's not a dozen, but it's a handful.
It's close enough.
There's just so many things and so many activities that are going on that if you don't get that fulfillment vibe, eventually it just turns into a hassle. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, one thing that sets what you do apart, and I think is a common link, is there's a passion there for it.
Sure.
As opposed to, you know, if you're just doing something for obligation or you're just doing something for a paycheck, there's only so far that's going to carry you.
Yeah, you ain't going to do this for 10 years for sure. I can tell you that.
and you know, it's I think it's important for people to realize that that's one of the biggest, to me, biggest factors that you get with local businesses is that it truly is, there's a passion there that a lot of times these people have sacrificed everything for this business. And if this business failed, then they would lose everything that they had worked their lives for. And, you know, if you talk about Mural City, you taught that Darren and Gina what all that they sacrificed getting that building in place and how that it was a long process.
Yeah, they moved into that building while they built it out.
And for years getting that thing set up.
Yeah.
So I think that those are things that when you do that, you have a lot more invested into it personally, but again, it's what brings it back. And that's why so many of the places that you see that come and go, maybe there's not that drive or that passion there.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of people have the preconceived notion that once you're a business owner, you've made it.
Oh, no.
But you still got to do the work, man. You get to be, when you're in like a situation like mine where I have a super awesome team of people that help me out, like between the writers and photographers and everybody else involved, like that help me with the podcast and stuff, like it's such a team effort that you have to be able to have that trust and you have to have those relationships to be able to know and believe that everything is going to be handled. That, I mean, to an extent that it's on brand and up to par with everything else you want to release. Like going back to with your name on packaging with your family business. That's all you have at the end of the day. Like you go to the grave by yourself. And for me, like I had a pastor in here yesterday doing a podcast, and at the end of it, like we kind of compared notes and talked about different walks of life and like how he had come up and how I had come up. And at the end of the day, like we both realized we were in the same business. Like at the end of the day, we're all preaching the gospel. The gospel is good news. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do. Like we focus on building those relationships. Like at the end of the day, Mark Zuckerberg is not going to come help you move your stuff if you get a better location. So why are you sending him so much money? A lot of it is nobody knows where to spend marketing dollars because they just see everybody sponsored posts on Facebook or Instagram. But those dudes aren't going to sponsor your baseball team. Like they're not going to give you an extra kids meal, or there's just so many reasons to invest in individuals rather than individuals that you are never in the same room as.
Well, you know, that's a great point because I invest my marketing with the local. Mm-hmm. I also invest.
Certainly appreciate it.
Yes, I would thank you. Absolutely. And I also invest with Arrow Branding and Marketing.
Yeah.
And two local companies that have a focus of this region, but are also not so hyper-focused only on this region that they forget what's going on in other regions. So they kind of fall into the same routine of what everybody here does.
Sure.
And I think that it goes back to relationships that you were talking about and trust. Mm-hmm. I trust both of those parties immensely. And a lot of times, you know, people at Arrow will tell you, like, I'm like, hey, I don't know how to do this. I just know that it can be done. Let's figure out how to do it.
Oh, for sure.
And let's figure out how we can afford to do it.
Yeah.
And we come up with a plan. And I think that with that trust, it allows you to, I tell people all the time, like, they say, well, who do you recommend for lenders? And I always give out multiple names, whether anything, whether that's a contractor or a builder, I don't ever just give out one name, but the people that I always give out on my lender list are almost always local lenders. And the reason for that is because you're going to see that person at church or see that person at a restaurant. You're going to run into that person. So it's not like they can just duck your calls because they're not working out of a call center 4,000 miles away.
That's it.
They know that they're going to, at some point, your paths are going to cross, whether this deal happens or not. And so that they, again, want to establish a brand in a relationship. So their reputation is important. And I think that is something that we can't emphasize enough, that gets lost a lot of times in translation with stuff that is not quote unquote local type businesses.
It's this town is actually a really good town to show up to, because like, even if you don't have a very adventurous palate, or maybe if your comfort zone is not super wide like mine might be, all those staples of all those places that you've been before, we have that too. Like,
sure,
per capita, at one point we had more restaurants than any other town in the nation, which is bananas, because we got our metropolitan area is probably hovering around 250,000, give or take, where other normal cities do that in just their city limits. So not only do we have communities like outside of Dothan that are great places to live, like property tax is low, school systems are solid, but you're 10, 15 minutes away from eating at places that your parents eat in whatever town they live in, or cousins or whatever. Like, you can find comfort in Dothan super easily.
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's great that we have that diversity for people, so that they can, if they're not yet adventurous, then
they can ease into it.
They can ease into it. They can pick up a copy of the local, figure out what's happening and what to do, and figure out like, okay. And that's what we did, was basically like, all right, we're not from here. We have friends here, but we're not from here. So it's like, I'm going to look in here and make myself do one of these things in each issue that you put out. It's like, all right, I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone and I'm going to try this. We're going to go do Foster Fest, or we're going to go do whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's, but you have enough of that safety stuff here that
Yeah. Like, there's always an air of comfort around, because there's always something you can just about look around. Even from my office, you can look around and see like recognizable businesses.
Oh yeah.
So it's not that all of our businesses are super locally owned. It's just the ones that we do have are such a rad place to go, that it's easy to live a life that supports them.
Totally. Well, one of the things that I kind of, when we talked about wanting to do this, I thought would be a fun topic, and we'll have to break out our monocle and top hat. And actually, we probably would look more like Harry and Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber. I
definitely got a baby blue.
Yeah, and I've got an orange one, so we're set. But one of the things that we've never talked about in any of our series is some of the finer things in Dothan. And I thought that was kind of funny too, is, shout out for Office fans. We'll have a Finer Things Club.
Right.
But this is one that's kind of foreign to me, because I'm somebody that does have a lot of kids. So going to fine dining or fine events, not exactly at top of our priority list.
Sure.
But we have participated in some stuff that I think would kind of qualify that, some SEAC shows, which are, definitely you can have some very high production shows, and whether that's with SEACT or with Junior SEACT, or with even like, I know a lot of the dance companies put on some really phenomenal shows.
Yeah, Harrell and Jazz does an incredible job. Like right now they're running, usually right now this time of year they're running their holiday thing, and I think this one is, I'm going to blank on it. Anyway, shout out Patty Rutland Jazz, even though I can't remember their production.
But I think those are cool. And then you've always got like, you see pictures of people posting events from galas and different things, because we do have stuff like the medical center here, and you've got or Southeast Health now, I guess. Pardon me. You do have some big events. Of course, every year you guys do like the big crew ball and everything for Mardi Gras. Some cool stuff that would be considered more of like your little higher class affairs,
highbrow entertainment.
Yes, things that we're probably not readily invited to, but because we would show up like Dumb and Dumber.
I mean, I've got a tuxedo at the house, man. I can rock that. I can make it happen. But yeah, like typically when you think of Alabama, you're not thinking about black tie events, right? Like,
no.
I don't know what does come to mind, but probably nothing ideal. I've seen SNL enough to know like maybe Alabama's not cast in the best light.
No.
But I think that's what makes like conversations like these important.
It could be worse. We could be Mississippi.
Ooh, let's not start there. I got a whole lot of documentaries about that place. Dude, yeah, it's some of my favorite things. I know you mentioned the Mardi Gras ball, but there's also there's so many balls that get put on by different entities, whether it's fundraisers or just nonprofit awareness stuff. There's silent auctions that we have throughout the year that the local gets involved in. Dothan Area Young Professionals does a great event called Aces for the Arts. And typically it's just a big casino night at the Cultural Arts Center downtown. And people go and they play craps, poker, blackjack, roulette, any real casino game for the most part. And you
all for charity.
All for charity. And all the profits go to the Cultural Arts Center. And dude, you can win TVs, you can win trips, you can win jewelry, you can win gift cards to Eagle Eye Outfitters, all sorts of stuff, dude. Like we donated, I've donated tons of stuff for HOTS, like done Echo shows and Amazon products, like little voice assistants and stuff for people. And like, yeah, it's even our young professional group around here does a lot of awesome work. They had taken over Toys for Tots for a couple of years and did great with that. It all goes back to those people that want to put together those experiences for people so they don't have to travel far to think or to actually experience that higher level of entertainment than the typical dive bar or the typical down home food joint. You know what I mean?
I think there's one thing that gets overlooked in that category because it's more of an outdoor type event. But, we've got a Robert Trent Jones golf trail course here in Dothan. And I think that's one of the things that, that golf tournaments and things like that can also bring revenue, but it's also can sometimes bring in some pretty high roller kind of people into town. And that's something that we were talking about all the outdoor activities, but during COVID that I think golf was like one of the first things that got back open because it can be a very social distance thing to do, but I think it still falls into that category too, that you could kind of classify it as something that's a little more of the finer things maybe, because there's some really nice courses in Dothan.
There's some nice courses too that aren't super expensive. Like Roundabout is so much fun to play. That place is fun. I actually go play the par 3 every now and again out of the Highlands. Like you can go out there with like a 7-iron and a lob wedge and a putter and just walk around. Like it's so much fun. Like we also have a country club. We've got the Azalea Club if you want to be a part of that, to go swimming and tennis and stuff like that.
And Dothan National used to host some like SEC tournament and stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
And, it's still a great course, but it's one of those that where it's at, a lot of people kind of forget about it too. Kind of like Roundabout that, they're kind of on the outside
of
town.
Path.
I say the outskirts of town. That sounds kind of shady, but it's just
they're on the other side of the tracks.
But I mean, I think the biggest thing in the finer things category, if we're classifying it, that we have to talking about the outskirts of town, there's nothing more highbrow than the National Peanut Festival, right?
Dude, Peanut Festival's lit. I wish it would have happened this year. I love that. It's one of those places where you can see a solid cross-section of humanity, no matter what region you're from. Dude, yeah. everybody on the human spectrum is at the peanut festival.
It's like if Walmart and Target had a baby and it was a fair.
Yeah, it's an experience for sure. Like some of the food vendors are off the charts.
Oh,
like,
man.
There's some like the corn dog man that was exclusive. Like you could only get that dude to serve up some corn dogs for that 1 week of the peanut festival.
And shout out to Church at the Crossing and Eagle Eye because they got it.
Made it happen.
They made it happen other times of the year this year. So that was awesome too.
That's another thing is like the church situation in town. Like I've developed some of the most meaningful friendships through just meeting with people and saying like, look, like we're all paddling the boat in the same direction. We want everybody to have the best quality of life. We think everybody needs to seek wisdom and learn what makes them tick and what their life goals are at a very, very cellular level and help people attain those goals. Like,
oh yeah,
Dothan's one of the best places as far as getting behind somebody else's idea. It doesn't have to be like us getting behind one business or getting behind a bunch of businesses. A bunch of businesses will get behind an idea and make it happen too. You see that with the plant downtown. They've been able to bring in Aaron Lewis, David Ramirez, some bigger name country acts and stuff. Like they've done some solid stuff in a pretty short amount of time because the city rallied behind them, and the city will tell you what it wants and what it doesn't want. And it's being able to listen to that pulse and listen to that voice of it just takes a lot of experience to see what the city gets behind and what it doesn't.
So we just talked about the Peanut Festival and we talked about live shows. So I think that was the most professional segue we could ever get into to talk about things that we're most looking forward to that will hopefully come back in 2021.
So I sit on the board of this nonprofit called Live at the Opera. And what our mission is to get regional acts to Dothan, usually on a Wednesday or Thursday night, where you can have a more intimate setting. To where it's not like 200 people crammed in one space and like elbow to elbow. When COVID hit, we had a couple things that we had hoped to do before the end of the year. And obviously that is not going to happen unless we do like a show enough Christmas cantata situation in the next week or so. But yeah, like I'm looking forward to being able to like the excitement of being able to find the acts to bring, and then you send, like for me, like I'll get 3 or 4 things that I'm really hyped on for a season. Like Andrew Bird was one of them, and I'm still like pursuing Andrew Bird to come to Dothan. But Marcus King, buddy of mine, Cliff Dyer, contacted Marcus King and got him to come here. And that dude, I don't know if you've listened to his music, but it's so amazing that a dude that young can make that kind of sound. Like we had Live at the Opera didn't do this, but St. Paul and Broken Bones played. And that was actually what kicked off the idea for Live at the Opera. We saw Dothan show up to what a lot of people had always been nervous about investing in. And for us, like we were blessed to have St. Paul and the Broken Bones kind of take the brunt of that investment because they just did an Alabama tour in some small towns just for appreciation. Like, they just randomly showed up and it sold out within, I think, 4 hours of them announcing the show. When the city of Dothan wants to get behind something, they get behind it. Live at the Opera is one of those things that, because we haven't been actively doing it as much, like it feels like the steam is kind of cooled off a little bit, but I'm super looking forward to being able to help like create more events and get more people out of the house and experiencing what I've come to love as one of my favorite places.
And I think live shows in general has to be at the top of most people's list.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter if you're here or anywhere.
Dude, it could be comedy or magic or like one acoustic dude. Like people want to be able to get with their friends and appreciate the same thing.
Could be Ronald McDonald doing balloon animals.
Dude, let's get it. Let's sign him up. Out, dude.
He's got to keep it low key though. That he's good at it.
Ronnie, get at me. Justin at Wiregrass Local.
I think that's there. Obviously, you said the Peanut Festival. That's something the economy Dothan needs that to come back because that is obviously a huge revenue generator, not just for Dothan as a city, but you mentioned like the vendors, those people that their whole year is
band boosters to
it's off of that,
churches to like youth groups, Cub Scouts, like everybody's raising funds, and that event has been such a staple to be able to do that. Like the church I grew up in, we used to have a booth out there, and they still do. It's just not the same church's title. But dude, like so many people focus their fundraising around that because it's such a hub for all the surrounding areas you get all those different demographics in one location. That's tricky to do with traditional malls and stuff kind of going by the wayside, with traditional meeting spots not being accessible anymore due to COVID. Like people are looking constantly for a way to bond with each other because at the end of the day, like we're very hardwired to need each other.
Sure.
I went on a 20-year bender of basically saying, nope, I'm going to do everything myself. I don't want to rely on anybody. And it takes its toll. Like I am probably more gray than I should be because of it. Like I'm only 37, 38, 82, carry the one, 38. Yeah, but like trying to do stuff on your own, like for your mental health, for just the enrichment that you get and the different perspectives that you get and the broadening of horizons. Dude, just people are where it's at. Like that's why I do what I do. Like I want to show people that it doesn't matter where you are. Like joy and fulfillment just depends on what you're doing. Like if you're bored, that's not how you were meant to be.
A lot of it's your perspective of things.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is, we had a weird year for how we worshiped in church and stuff. It was very discombobulated.
We all doing it out there at the bingo slots.
Well, I mean, we were
shout out
Clay over at
Clay Dempsey,
crossing
man.
at Big Creek, man. But I mean, just some kind of normal, structure of that, because what you were saying, we are wired in such a way where we need that community and we need that, that friendship and to see those faces and to kind of have that structure there. And so I think that with everything like it was, I mean, I know just from our perspective, from where I go to church, it was kind of like, all right, this week we're doing it this way. Next week we're doing it this way.
Yeah.
And we're going to be live streaming only for, a set amount of time. It was very hit or miss, and it kind of got everybody out of their routines. And so that part I'm looking forward to hopefully resuming. We're getting close, but who knows what tomorrow holds with that.
Yeah. So. COVID has been a catastrophe from start to finish. A lot of people unnecessarily lost their lives to it. Like families been going through just ridiculous grief and strife and not being able to visit visit family members in the hospital, like can't visit grandparents in retirement homes. And during a pandemic, I say this like I'm an expert, but I feel like when you all of a sudden go from a normal routine of like high-fiving your buddies and seeing everybody in group settings or going to like men's group meetings for coffee or whatever it might be, there's no women's coffee allowed. Just only men can do the things. No, that's not what I mean by any means. But you lose that drive for community, and you kind of get panicked. I mean, for me, like I started my quarantine a little early, but the helplessness, it was kind of compounded for me because I was quarantined to like a king size bed, which wasn't bad, but like for 60 days, I just got to lay there and wonder what was going on outside. And for my personal mental state,
you didn't miss much. I'll tell you that much.
No, dude, I was kind of pumped, but I was bummed because my wife had to do everything. Like I didn't leave the house for like 2 months. But it really showed the importance of community and like how we actually rely on each other, not only just for the financial aspect of like how the economy works, but we all rely on each other to be able to recognize each other and see that, like, Brandon, you're not that much different than I am. We go through a lot of the same things. And if you're not constantly reminded of that, you can alienate yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You can put yourself into weird headspaces that are not rad. And with the additional stress of a pandemic, it's just the idea of being able to do stuff in groups is such a goal for so many people.
I think it's therapeutic even.
Yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of groups, I think probably our maybe one of our top things that we're looking forward to, hopefully coming back in 2021, is maybe the same thing. Mardi Gras.
Ooh, I got some bad news, dog.
Already canceled. 2021
parade for Dothan is canceled.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, stop filming. I'm done.
Yeah,
That just
hang it up.
That let all the air out of my
It's
balloon, but
I mean, a lot of people feel that way, and I 100% get it. But for me, as one of the people that are kind of pretty involved in that, for me, it's kind of good for a handful of reasons. It gets us to recenter our focus. Last year, my focus was we got to have this, and this done. I don't care what it takes. Let's get it to where this float is the best thing that we can do. And it's never been about that. Like, it really has only been the whole purpose of that parade is to get everybody together and give back to the city and throw stuff to people that don't have anything else to do on a Saturday in the middle of February.
yeah.
And it's huge. Like, you get to see so many kids that you don't know. Like, you get to reach so many people that you normally wouldn't be in contact with. And A, it gets you out of that comfort zone, but B, like, it just gets you more familiar with the town that you chose to live in. And if you don't constantly reground yourself where you are, then, like, people are going to stop taking you seriously, and you'll eventually probably stop taking yourself seriously. And who wants that?
Well, 2022 though.
2022, we coming in hot.
Is Justin going to have PTSD from 2020, or is he going to? Are we going to have to hook that tether on you that we were talking about?
No, we've been climbing around, dude. I've been climbing around floats. Like, we rewired one the other night. Like, it not only does it get us to refocus, it gives us an extra year to make it that much better. We'll be able to have a little bit more money in the budget because we'll be able to not spend X amount for 2021. And I think you'll see it come back bigger and better than ever. Every year we've gotten bigger and better. So, I mean, imagine if we got 2 years to reframe our focus and
dude, I've only been involved with it 2 years, and just to see the jump from my first year to this year.
Yeah.
I was really kind of blown away. I mean, to the point that, like, wow. Because I've been to Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And, I think we do a great representation, but at the same time, we still hold true to that family-friendly atmosphere. Because, there's some family-friendly stuff in New Orleans too, but there's also some really not so family-friendly parts of it. And so I think we captured a lot of that fun atmosphere that you can bring your kids, you can bring grandma and granddad to, and not have to worry about them being, in therapy next week because of some of the things that they witnessed.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun.
We actually have a fine system in place. So, like, there's like a handful of rules that you can't break. And if you do break them, you start getting fined. And after X amount of fines, you just can't ride for a year. Which I'm waiting, maybe 2022 is going to be the year that I co-host the parade with you, because I might get booted off a floor. Who knows, man? Like, you never know. I'm kind of a character, so I just stir things up constantly.
Well, we keep it pretty fun.
Yeah.
On that side of things too, because we want you guys. It's funny. Like, you're on the float, you have that whole. For the people in that one section, you're 2 minutes of their day. Dude,
you're putting on a show. Like,
for a very finite amount of time. Unfortunately, like Charlene and I, we were part of their day, at least the ones that were within earshot of the speakers, for hours of their day. And, so it was challenging, but at the same time, people were dancing in the streets. They were having a good time. One of my favorite things was post parade, watching all the kids running and grabbing the beads and the coins and stuff that was, that missed somebody's hands and stuff. So it's a cool thing. And I think as a whole, that all those events at some point we're going to have those back.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot to look forward to. I know that it's great to live in a town that we do have those activities that are something that's focused on fun for all and fun for the town. But I'm looking forward to that. I know, ready for life to get back to. I'm tired of the new normal. I kind of want some of the old normal back, but with like you said, a refocusing on. Yeah,
you get an extra year to plot your comeback. Like, who's not going to come back bigger and better?
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see what 2021 holds. Like, obviously there's going to be a lot more hurdles and hoops to jump through to get things done. But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if we're not keeping our population safe, then there's not going to be a reason to promote anything. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be sending everybody to jump in line to get sick.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, I am definitely hopeful for a much better year than the dumpster fire that 2020 was.
Absolutely. Shout out Mountain Environmental. If you have a dumpster that needs emptying, or if you need a dumpster, holler at Martin Environmental. They're solid folks. Dude, thanks for coming in, man. I feel like we covered. I think we solved all the problems.
I think so too.
All right. Local government, state government, federal government. Check out this podcast. Take some hard notes.
Well, thank you for having me on, man. Always have a blast, and it's good to solve the world's problems.
Yeah, dude. Congratulations. This is episode 161, and this will probably be the last episode that goes up for the year, unless I get squirrely and just decide to do one between Christmas and Thanksgiving. Not Thanksgiving. See, I don't even know what day of the calendar it is. Like, every day is a podcast day.
I noticed this year, too, that you did away with your extreme challenge eating competition trivia /
that Turkey Day disaster thing?
Yeah.
That was more of a COVID putting the kibosh on that than it was like a personal decision. I'm not going to say that I wasn't pleased with the decision because the way that game works is you either have to drink wild turkey or you have to eat spoonfuls of room temperature gravy, which I don't know if you've ever had meat pudding before, but it's that. It's real gross.
I was a youth pastor for almost 4 years, and it sounds like the games that we would play, other than the wild turkey, that was just for the youth pastors. But no,
that's how you got to get through it, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, dude. Thanks for coming in, man. Anytime we can do this again.
Anytime.
I'm ready.
Sounds good.
Awesome, dude. Be what's happening out there.